Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ben here. I'm back again today doing another video, and the subject of today's video is going to be on NBA power forwards, specifically all starting power forwards in the NBA. I'm going to be going through tier maker and ranking all these guys on what tier I think they're on. To just clarify quickly, I'd say like all NBA is like the two or three best guys at the position. All star is obviously a guy who's made all-star games or I think is like worthy of making an all-star game. Above average starters, that kind of weird like position where you're probably scoring with like around 16 to 18 points per game, but you're not really like an all-star level guy. Um, Average starter probably scoring like 10 to 12 points per night, giving like decent defense, and then role player you're probably doing like a few things well, but most of things you're doing could be like easily replaced, I would say. So without further ado, let's get into ranking some of these players. Um, Blake Griffin. Last year he was actually an all NBA caliber power forward. I'm going to say all star when healthy. I think he's deteriorated a little bit, but of course he was like injured all year. But I think majority of the time he's like all star worthy. He's going to give you basically a bit of everything on offense, and on defense he's like very average. But on offense, he can kind of do it all for the position. He can be a point forward. He can shoot threes. He can score the ball very well. Doesn't rebound very great for his position anymore, but I think he's still very potent offensively. Let's see here. John Collins, above average starter. If his team won more, he'd be in that all-star rank. But he puts up like 20 and 10, but the Hawks are terrible, so to me that's like an above average starter, but teetering on all-star. Um, Aaron Gordon, similar kind of guy where he scores like 16 to 18 points per night, gives you no defense, gives you but pretty good offense on a team they're going to make the playoffs, but they're basically not very good for. They're probably like the worst kind of a playoff team where they're only getting in because the conference is weak. But yeah, that 16 to 18 points probably going to be like the fourth best player on like a title team sort of thing. That's where Aaron Gordon sits. Kelly Olynyk. Oh man, he's right in between these two. I'm gonna say average starter, like that 12 points per game, good 3-point shooter, decent shooter from the field then too. Doesn't give you anything on defense, but on offense he gives you some really good floor spacing. Torian Prince, average starter, gives you good defense, gives you 8, 9, 10 points per game. Not really much on offense, but good defense. At this point, I'm going to say Carmelo's an average starter. Gives you no defense, gives you inefficient 16 points per game, and I think when you like balance that out, like I was really flirting with this above average starter, but I don't think he is that anymore because he's just inefficient to a point where it doesn't even warrant him being above average. I don't think. Like I would much rather have Carmelo average 10 points a game and shoot 48% from the field rather than what he currently does, which is like 16 points per game, 40% from the field. So that's why I have him as just an average starter. Rui Hachimura, average starter, like 12 points per game, good efficiency, but I think he's got a lot of room to grow after this is his rookie year. After this, I think he will continue to grow and continue to be an impactful player in the NBA. And I think his ceiling's probably around like 16 and 10, but we'll just have to see. Julius Randle, above average starter, a guy who I think on a really bad team like the Knicks right now, he's going to put up like 18 to 20 points per game and like 8 to 10 rebounds. But like on a really good team, I think he's like the fourth best player and probably averaging more like 14 and 8 rather than 14 to 15 rather than like that 20 range. I think he should be like your third option on offense on a really good team rather than your first option like he is on the Knicks right now. Um, so that's my stance on that. PJ Washington, to me, average starter. A lot of room to grow. We'll just have to kind of see what he becomes. Um, I honestly I haven't watched much of him playing at all, so I can't give a ton of input. But I think this year he's putting up like 10 to. I think he is in that like 10 to 12 range. Um, I see different times where he comes up and scrolls up, and it's like PJ Washington 20 points tonight, but then there are other times where it's just like, well, he scored like 7 points in the box score. So still not super consistent. But I think, I think he's a rookie, so he has plenty of room to grow. Let's do Lauri Markkanen, above average. Definitely like the very similar to like some of these guys, which this tier is right now. It probably seems like I should rename it high volume scorers on bad teams, but that is what Lauri Markkanen is. He's a volume scorer who doesn't really play defense on a bad team. His efficiency is worse this year, but I think because he's so young, I'm going to cut him slack. Unlike a Carmelo Anthony, um, Carmelo, we know that it's only going to get worse, whereas Markkanen is definitely on his way to getting better. Let's see here. Jason Tatum, All Star. You might have noticed he was also in my small forwards video because for some reason I used somebody else's tier maker. I came up with the category titles, but they came up with the player pool, and they had him in both. So I'll just do him again. All Star. He can do everything on offense, average on defense, and I think that gets you to an All Star level. Pascal Siakam, very similar in that I think he can do basically some of everything offensively. Good shooter, good handle on the ball for being 6'10", can be a slashing scorer, can score off the dribble, can create his own shot. Not super well yet, but getting better. He was an All-Star starter this year, I believe, too. So yeah, he's definitely got plenty of room to improve, though. Juancho Hernangomez. He's on the Wolves now, which, as you might know, is one of my teams. The Wolves, man, when they're starting Juancho, you know things are bad. This dude, he's actually putting up better numbers than I thought when I looked up his numbers on the Wolves. Like, I've gone to a few games where he was playing for us. He had one game where he scored like 20 points, like his first game here, where the Wolves beat the Clippers. That game, watching him live was awesome. Malik Beasley had like 35 points that game, I believe, also, so that was awesome. But yeah, Juancho, like on a contending team like Denver, he was right where he should be, averaging like 7 points off the bench, playing like 18 minutes a night. So that's really what he is on a contending team, I think. So he's a role player. Paul Millsap, above average starter. I think he's dropped out of that all-star tier. Going to give you good defense. Not going to score probably more than 14 points per night on any team anymore. Marcus Morris, very similar play style. Like, I think on a really good team, he's like 13 to 14 points per game and good defense. Of course, he was averaging like 20 points per game on the Knicks earlier this year, which kind of fits in with these other guys. But I think on a good team, he's giving you like 13 and good defense, like he was on the Celtics last year. Let's see. Porzingis, all-star level guy. I think he's like 7'3", 7'4". Doesn't actually rebound very well for that immense height because he plays very like European, I guess, in that he, despite being a big man, he plays away from the basket quite a bit. High post, 3-pointers, stuff like that. Can kind of score from every level on offense. He can score in the post, mid-range, high post, 3-pointers. He can face you up or back you down. Doesn't really play defense at all, but on offense, very versatile. I'm going to put LaMarcus Aldridge in the All-Star tier too. I think he's sort of, this would probably be his last year in that tier. I think he basically is like gives you everything Porzingis gives you, just slightly worse, I would say. So for my description of his game, just revert to Porzingis. Let's see here, Draymond. I'm gonna still say All-Star. I'd say for his career, All-Star level guy. Right now, above average starter. He's had a pretty terrible year this year. He's averaging like 8 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Very bad efficiency. So I still have faith in him that when he's surrounded by more talent, his play itself will also rise. But I think this year we're getting the answer to the question that so many had in previous years, which was, what does Draymond Green look as the best player on a team? And the reality is not very pretty. Kind of like Marcus Morris. Like obviously Draymond Green is first career better than Morris, but like just as the best player on a team, they're gonna be like a lottery team. Kevin Love, I would formally say all-star, but I think he's down to above average starter, and it might be getting repetitive, but he's another one of these guys. He's gonna put up really good numbers on bad teams. Like this year, I think he's averaging like 20 and 12, but the Cavs are awful. So to me, that's worthy of being an above average starter. Dario Saric, average starter, really good shooter, 10 points per game. That's really just what he is. Doesn't play any defense, so that gets you into this tier for me. PJ Tucker, above average starter. Basically like Draymond Green light to me. Very similar game to Draymond, a little bit worse on defense, but a better shooter. Same thing with Al Horford, above average starter. Teetering on average starter these days, actually. He's regressed a bit this year, and his age is starting to show. I believe he's like 34, so it's not totally shocking. The reason I have him in this tier is that he still can space the floor for you. If his percentages aren't great this year, but I still would feel like I'd have to guard him from three. The more that deep shot regresses, I think is where he moves down to the average starter category. Marvin Bagley. Right now I'm going to say average starter. I think he has a chance to move up. He's like 14 points per game right now. I just haven't seen enough from him, in my opinion, to put him up a notch, but I think he's right on the verge of breaking into that next category. Sabonis, all-star. Sabonis is a weird player for me. I don't dislike him, but I think he's like got a very boring game. He puts up good numbers this year. I think he's putting up like 20 points and 11 rebounds, but to me his game is just so boring. Like there's nothing. I would never turn on a Pacers game, I guess is what I was saying, cuz like I just feel like he is not an entertaining player even though he is a good player. Let's do Bogdanovich, above average starter. He's on the Jazz, contending team, 17 points per game, but just not at that next level. And I feel like that's like the clear-cut like definition of this tier. This tier is either like super gaudy numbers on a terrible team, or just like really solid good numbers on a contending team. And he falls into the latter of those two categories. Same thing with Gallinari, very similar season, like 17, 18 points per game for a contending team. Very similar season and kind of player to Bogdanovich, so he's going in this tier as well. Jaren Jackson, he teeters on all-star for me. I think he is sort of like basically Pascal Siakam with a worse handle for me. Plays really good defense, can space the court really well. He'll move up to this next tier when he gets to be a better rebounder, because I think this year he's averaging like 5 rebounds per game, and he's 6'11 and like athletic, so that does not make sense why he averages like 5 rebounds per game. If he can improve that, he's an all-star to me. AD, all NBA, no doubt. I don't really need to talk about these guys' games as much. Giannis, MVP, of course he's in the top tier. Guys that can, I think, be number ones on a championship level team. Zion, I'm going to say all-star. I've really liked what I've seen from him this year. I made a video like a year ago when he was still in college where I came off as like a Zion hater, and I think that video was just misinterpreted. I am not a Zion hater. I was hoping for the best for him. I just don't like it when people say, when a guy comes out of college, I hate when people are like, he's going to be the next LeBron, or he's like LeBron and Charles Barkley combined. I hate those sort of comparisons, so I was just saying like we should give more fair comparisons, but I think if you adjust his minutes to per 36, he's averaging like 25 and 10, so definitely all-star worthy. He just is like the most fun dude to watch in the NBA right now, I feel like. And it's not hyperbole, that's the truth. There you go, guys. Those are my rankings. Give me yours in the comments or tell me where I'm wrong or do your own tier video or just tier link and send me the link if you want. That's all I got for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day. Bye.